What you are about to hear is not a military exercise, and it is not a warning. It is a message. At this very moment, thousands of United States Marines are moving across the sea toward the Middle East, aboard some of the most heavily armed amphibious assault ships on Earth. Massive warships carrying F-35B stealth fighters, V-22 Ospreys, attack helicopters, armored vehicles, and rapid response marine units are positioning themselves within striking distance of Iran. And in Tehran, military planners are watching every move. Because this deployment changes everything. The United States Marine Corps is not designed to sit offshore and wait. Marines are America's shock force. They are trained to arrive first, strike fast, and establish control before larger forces even enter the battlefield. And now, for the first time in years, multiple amphibious marine units are executing full deployment operations toward one of the most dangerous regions on the planet. The deployment centers around the powerful USS Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group, accompanied by thousands of Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. These forces were originally operating near the Pacific, close to Japan and the Philippines, before receiving sudden orders redirecting them toward the Middle East. This is not just another naval patrol. The USS Tripoli is an America-class amphibious assault ship, essentially a small aircraft carrier built specifically for marine warfare. Unlike traditional carriers that focus on long-range air dominance, amphibious assault ships are designed to support rapid invasions, urban assaults, evacuation missions, and expeditionary warfare. On its deck are F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters capable of vertical takeoff and landing, meaning they can launch combat missions without relying on vulnerable regional airbases. That matters enormously in the Middle East. In any conflict involving Iran, fixed airbases across the region immediately become targets for ballistic missiles and drone strikes. Iran has spent decades building a strategy around overwhelming nearby American bases with missiles, cruise weapons, and swarm drones. But sea-based marine aviation changes the equation completely. Amphibious assault ships can constantly reposition, making them far harder to target. This means the United States can sustain air operations even if regional bases are damaged or destroyed, and Tehran knows it. But the real story is not just the ships, it is what the Marines aboard them are trained to do. Marine Expeditionary Units, known as MEUs, are among the most flexible military formations on Earth. A single MEU can conduct amphibious invasions, hostage rescues, embassy evacuations, counterterrorism operations, humanitarian missions, urban warfare, and rapid response strikes. They are built to operate independently for extended periods and can launch missions within hours of receiving orders. Each MEU combines infantry, aviation, logistics, artillery, reconnaissance, and command elements into one integrated force. In simple terms, they are miniature armies floating at sea. And unlike conventional forces that often require weeks to deploy, Marine Expeditionary Units are already moving, already armed, and already prepared for combat. Recent reports indicate that roughly 2,200 to 2,500 Marines have been ordered toward the region alongside multiple amphibious warships. That number alone is significant, but the equipment they bring is even more important. The Marines aboard these ships are supported by F-35B stealth fighters, AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters, MV-22 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft, amphibious assault vehicles, precision-guided artillery, advanced drones, and electronic warfare systems. These are not defensive assets. These are offensive expeditionary capabilities designed for rapid force projection. And the timing of this deployment is impossible to ignore. Tensions between the United States, Israel, and Iran have escalated dramatically following repeated missile exchanges, proxy attacks, and military operations throughout the region. Shipping lanes near the Strait of Hormuz remain under constant threat, while regional militias aligned with Iran continue to pressure American and allied interests. The Strait of Hormuz alone carries a massive percentage of the world's oil supply. Any disruption there affects the global economy instantly. For decades, Iran has threatened to close or disrupt the strait during periods of conflict. The United States has repeatedly stated that freedom of navigation in the Gulf is a core national interest. Now, with marine amphibious forces entering the theater, Washington is demonstrating that it possesses not only air power and naval strength, but also rapid ground assault capabilities if necessary. This creates enormous pressure on Iranian military planners, because amphibious warfare introduces uncertainty. An aircraft carrier is visible. Its role is obvious. It launches aircraft and projects air power. But marine amphibious groups are different. They can conduct raids, seize coastlines, deploy reconnaissance teams, reinforce embassies, evacuate civilians, or support special operations. Their flexibility makes them unpredictable. And unpredictability is dangerous in military strategy. Iran now has to consider multiple scenarios simultaneously. Could Marines be preparing for emergency evacuation operations? Could they support strikes against Iranian naval facilities? Could they secure shipping lanes in the Gulf? Could they conduct limited coastal raids against missile sites? Could they reinforce regional allies if proxy conflicts intensify? The uncertainty forces Iran to spread resources across multiple defensive possibilities. And that alone is a strategic victory. One of the most important aspects of this deployment is the integration of fifth-generation aviation with amphibious operations. The F-35B gives Marine forces stealth strike capabilities directly from the sea. Unlike older Harrier jets, the F-35B combines stealth, sensor fusion, electronic warfare, and precision targeting into a single aircraft. This transforms amphibious assault ships into mobile stealth airbases. And because these ships are constantly moving, they are far more survivable than fixed installations. Military analysts have repeatedly noted that future conflicts will rely heavily on distributed operations, smaller, mobile units operating across wide areas, rather than concentrated bases vulnerable to missile attacks. The Marine Corps has been restructuring itself around exactly this concept. In many ways, the Middle East deployment is a real-world test of that doctrine. The Marines are no longer preparing solely for traditional invasions. They are adapting for drone warfare, electronic warfare, precision missile environments, and highly contested battle spaces. Modern Marines train to operate under constant surveillance, where every electronic signal can be tracked and every concentration of forces can become a target. This is why mobility matters, and this is why amphibious forces matter. A warship can relocate hundreds of miles in a single day. A floating Marine force can appear unexpectedly along an entirely different axis than anticipated. In modern warfare, uncertainty creates operational advantage. Iran understands this well. Its military doctrine has long focused on asymmetric warfare, using speedboats, missiles, drones, proxy militias, and dispersed assets to offset America's conventional superiority. But marine amphibious groups are specifically designed to counter unpredictable environments. They are self-contained, flexible, and capable of shifting mission profiles rapidly. Another major factor is logistics. Large-scale military operations require enormous supply chains. Amphibious assault groups carry their own aviation fuel, ammunition, maintenance systems, medical facilities, and command infrastructure. This allows them to sustain operations independently for extended periods. In practical terms, these ships are floating combat cities, and they are now entering one of the world's most volatile regions. What makes this deployment even more significant is that reports suggest additional Marine units may also be moving toward the region. If multiple MEUs operate simultaneously in the Middle East, the United States gains the ability to conduct overlapping operations across enormous distances. One unit could secure shipping lanes while another handles rapid response contingencies elsewhere. That level of operational flexibility complicates Iranian planning dramatically. And yet, despite all the headlines, there is an important reality often overlooked. Deploying Marines does not automatically mean invasion. Marine expeditionary units are used for far more than direct combat. They regularly conduct humanitarian assistance, embassy security, civilian evacuations, deterrence patrols, and crisis response missions. But deterrence itself is a form of warfare. Sometimes the objective is not to fight. Sometimes the objective is to convince your opponent that fighting would be catastrophic. That is exactly what massive amphibious deployments are designed to communicate. For Iran, the message is clear. The United States retains the ability to project force rapidly, flexibly, and from the sea, even in highly contested environments. And for America's allies in the region, the deployment sends a different message entirely. Washington is still willing to commit advanced military assets to maintain regional stability. Whether this deployment ultimately becomes a show of force, a deterrence mission, or the opening stage of something larger remains unknown, but one thing is certain. When thousands of U.S. Marines aboard amphibious assault ships suddenly move toward the Middle East carrying stealth fighters, attack helicopters, armored vehicles, and rapid deployment forces, the world pays attention.